Hey everyone, welcome to the Shift Podcast, where inspiration meets leaders, mentors, and the everyday person who don't care about titles. So I'm quite excited this week. It's all about talking business and talking about mentorship. So without further ado, you know how we do. He's been on it. He's no longer behind the camera today. But welcome back, Reuben, aka Kneven.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, bro. No, thank you so much. You know, the last time you came on the podcast, we're talking about all things business, but I also know that things have changed and things you've kind of like accumulated more people that you're doing work with. So yeah, just for people who don't know you, you know, give us a little bit of background on what you do. Who is Reuben?
Yeah. So my name is Reuben Mulenga. I'm 18 and I do freelance photography, videography, anything to do with creative media, basically.
Man, that's all good. And the reason for me why I wanted you to be back is kind of like, it's just that progression, you know what I mean? It's like, because you're with me most of the time as well when we shoot these videos, but it's just kind of like your story as we journey. And I was thinking today, just talk a little bit about business. So kind of what inspired your business? What was the idea behind it and what problem are you solving?
I think the idea behind it really was just my passion for photography in the first place. Yeah. Like I explained in the other episode, was that I had a camera when I was 12. It was my brother's camera and I found interest in that. And then sort of through meeting Donna, that really started it. And then I thought, well, I can make a job out of this. And then it went from making a job out of it to then making a business out of it.
Okay.
And we're here.
Making a job into business.
Yeah.
So in terms of like your business, I know that you've worked with who are the people that you just recently started working with? Who are some of the people?
Andrew Jenkins. Andrew Jenkins is a big one because I feel like the stuff that he does, I think I resonate a lot with.
Yeah.
And I'm also passionate about that as well. So yeah, that's a big one. I've done like a lot more stuff now with local businesses or like for events and stuff like that. An example being Womb, which is Donna's daughter.
Yeah.
That's just about women's health, and it's something different as well. Cause that for me, even going to an event about women's health, that in itself taught me a lot, cause
like what stuff like what?
The menstrual cycle, pregnancy, the womb, it's called Womb. But all of that stuff that I might not have known before. Yeah. And it was quite interesting as well because I got two sisters and a mum.
Yeah.
I can sort of understand now what they go through.
Okay.
So that was quite interesting. But then I've just been doing a lot more with existing people.
Yeah.
Like Sadia from Sadia Speaks, filming her talks and workshops and stuff like that.
Wow. And so from the time that we recorded, so it's Andrew Jenkins, Sadia, you're still doing some stuff with me. Is there anything else in terms of like other people?
Yeah, so I'm going on a trip away with, partly the BBC. So there's going to be a BBC cameraman and a BBC presenter going to France. And they're filming a documentary and they're sort of documenting like an exchange trip.
Yeah.
So a group of like 18-year-olds, I think, to 20-year-olds, something like that.
Yeah.
Getting taken to France to work and like... well, not work, but like just have like a whole week at like a country house. There's like a mini farm with chickens and stuff like that, doing kayaking, canoeing, water sports, all that stuff. And they're just documenting it. And I've been given the opportunity to shadow Jeff, the videographer.
Wow. Yeah. Well done, bro. Wow, man. Things are just like what would you say in terms of like, say, all these opportunities? How did you get these opportunities in terms of business or what is it that you feel like you've done to kind of like put you in that position to get all these opportunities?
I've reached out to people because I'd spent a lot of my time sitting and waiting for opportunities to come to me.
Yeah.
And then I realized I've got to try and get those opportunities myself. So I use LinkedIn.
That's it.
LinkedIn is my favorite app. I love LinkedIn. And I just message people on it and I just sort of ask about what their story is.
Yeah.
And how they turn their story into a business and how I can sort of help them build their business maybe more on social media or wherever they need their content for.
Wow. So in terms of like, say, your personal development, talking business, it's so important to kind of like motivate yourself as well.
Yeah.
So how do you stay motivated and focus on your goals? How do you stay motivated?
I think my focus really is the future. I think I use that because, I've explained this before, that I overthink the future quite a lot. And I think I use that as a motivating factor to want to keep pushing things.
Yeah.
Like there might be something I don't really want to do, but it's like, if this is going to add to what I have or add to my portfolio, maybe that brings me a step closer to being a director of photography or being a filmmaker or, a documentary maker, something.
Wow. So is that, like you're saying, did you say like overthinking?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I overthink. Basically, when it comes to like what I'm going to do in the future, I shouldn't be worried about it because I'm only 18. I've literally just left school. But I think about, okay, what profession do I want when I'm older? How much money on average is that salary? Is that enough to pay a rent or mortgage? What if I have kids as well? Is that enough to pay for the kids?
Yeah.
And it's all like, for a lot of people, they'll think, what on earth is he on about?
Yeah.
But that's stuff I overthink about. And that's the reason why I'm motivated so much, is because I think about those. I'm like, hang on, I've got a graft here to get myself there. So I'm able to pay for these things. I'm able to do these things in the future.
But from my perspective, I wouldn't say that that's overthinking. I think that's caring about your future. And like you're saying, maybe, if you go too deep in overthinking that thing all the time. Yeah. But it sounds like you do care. It's about being wise, about, but then also not to go beyond that. Yeah. Beyond that. But what you just explained, it is caring. That's when you maybe 25, 30 years old, some people begin to think about these things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so it's great that you actually are thinking about these things, and these things are important, because either way, you're going to have to deal with that in the future. Yeah. So at least now you're working towards it, and you are still ahead of time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so the overthinking bit doesn't sound like it's overthinking. It is like it's caring about these things. Yeah. But then not to go beyond that caring, where you maybe then begin to overthink about the future. So what are daily habits or routines that you think contributes to your success? What do you do in terms of habits and routines?
So I always go on a walk. Every day I go on a walk for an hour or two. And I just enjoy doing it. It's something, because a lot of the time with what I do with work, it's always indoors and rarely am I filming outside. So I like to just, for 2 hours, go on a walk. Yeah. And I think, especially with mental health as well, that it helps a lot to then put your mind in the right place, and then you can go back home and get on with what you were doing, or start fresh again, and then be able to do what you're doing a lot better. I think with a clearer mind.
You were saying about Andrew Jenkins, isn't it, the guy who was on the Traitors? You were saying about like this time you filmed outside. Yeah. For what was that project then?
So it was a campaign, like a charity campaign video for Andrew, to basically bring in sponsors and companies that want to sort of sponsor a walk that he's doing. I think it's called the Big Trek. Mm-hmm. And he's walking from Scotland to Wales, which is quite impressive, to be fair. Yeah. So it was just creating a campaign video outdoors at Caerphilly Mountain. And I enjoyed that. I do miss hiking at mountains, so I got to do that with Andrew. Yeah, that was quite fun.
That's cool, isn't it? It's like it's starting where the Traitors was the castle. Yeah. That's really crazy, isn't it? From Scotland back to Wales. Yeah. My days. For me, when I started my business, my coaching and mentoring business, it's like, in the beginning, it was kind of like really tough. Because for me, when I got made redundant, I was like, okay, now I need to innovate. How do I, like, that innovation kind of mindset in terms of like, okay, what do I do now with myself? How do I bring kind of freshness to what I'm doing? Yeah. A friend of mine gave me money to go and study my life coaching, which is my business today. I think it took me 3 years to get like not even an income. I haven't even got paid yet. So my question is kind of like for you in terms of like, how do you find it in terms of like in your business and, you know, maybe money not coming in and you putting the work in, and how do you stay motivated in that sort of capacity?
A lot of times it's difficult, to be fair, because especially when you're self-employed, you got to go the extra mile. You can't just clock off at 5 o'clock, go home and relax. It's like you're constantly thinking about, okay, what can I do now to make myself more money? Even though what I do, like, you know, I didn't start it because it was about money, but it gets to a point where, okay, I need to start thinking about money. Is this something, am I going to have to stop this to then get a normal part-time job? But yeah, I think it goes back to walks as well. Literally anything, just talking to people that are also in the industry as well is quite helpful, because almost every single person that started a business has gone through that, like at some point, and then they've gotten to where they are now. So I think it's just a normal part of business, but I think you just need to talk to people who have gone through it and sort of understand their experiences to then help you understand what you're going through and how you're going to eventually get to the point of being able to give yourself like a salary.
Yeah, it's like even for me when, you know, I feel a bit lighter now. And it took me like, say, 3 years to build what I'm building. But I feel like I'm getting more opportunities working in schools, working with clubs. Yesterday, I was with the Bristol City Academy. And so doing my workshops and all of this, and you feel like, wow, my schedule or my diary is filling up now. Do you know, and it's such a good feeling because, you know, and I look at you like you said, 18 years old, but also you're thinking of the future. You're thinking you could easily just like, everything is free. But because it needs to be poured into where you're going. So out of this business idea for me has come my foundation in South Africa. That I'm trying to now help other people. Give other people opportunities. It's just crazy. Like, you know, I look at you and I'm thinking like, man, when I was 18 years old, bro, I didn't even think of the things that you're doing. And so sometimes when people talk to you, it's like, you are further ahead than most of us in where you are now. When we were your age, you are further on. Like, bro, I didn't even think about houses and I have kids and all of these kind of stuff. I didn't even think, it doesn't even, because I came out of Cape Town with that culture of like, mum is always there. Do you know what I mean? So most of our people, even in Cape Town, they still live with their parents. Yeah, you're talking about you want to get a house or get a mortgage, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just having this is more of an encouragement to you that where you are is where a lot of people are not. Do you know what I mean? And so it's about that constant moving forward, constant encouragement of where you want to be. So in terms of mentorship, you know, we were talking business and mentorship. What's your understanding in terms of mentorship and how is it important, or if it's not, just your thoughts?
I think it is important. Personally, I haven't really, you know, obviously I would say I have mentors in a way, but then I think the mentors themselves don't really realize that they are my mentors. Like an example being Andrew. Even just being around him and just listening to his story in a way is sort of mentors me, because my dad was in a similar position as Andrew, you know, being in a coma, having a brain injury. And sort of understanding his story helps me to sort of understand my dad's story, because I didn't really get to hear my dad's story after, you know, everything that happened. And I think it's just using people around you, and you don't have to necessarily go out and get yourself a mentor, you know. But if you surround yourself with the right people, you sort of, They sort of do it for you, and most of the time they don't even realise.
It's role modelling, isn't it? It's like you are being a role model without... I just had a call from a lady in South Africa who, one of my mentees, the ones that I mentor, is going through a tough time. The auntie called me and say, like, I know that you are, you know, mentoring him. How can we, you know, help him now? And sometimes you get intentional mentors, people that you meet every week, but then you also get the unintentional, you say, is the story, is the role modeling. But in terms of like, say, from your perspective, what you're saying, there might not be a specific role model or a specific mentor, but what are the most valuable advice that somebody, whether it's mentor or a role model, has given you in terms of, that you've received that advice that kind of like, that will help you move forward?
Oh, that's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, there's not really anything that stands out to me, but I think it is, I don't know. I think it is when you talk to people about, like, people that are in business as well, there might not be like specific pieces of advice. It's just the small bits of advice that they give you.
Yeah.
That, or the small bits of motivation.
Yeah.
On where they sort of tell their story and say, no, it's okay, I was in that position as well. But there's these people to support you. You can get there, if you do these things. So there's not really any specific advice, I'd say. But I think just in general, when you have people around you that you can ask questions to, I think that's quite helpful. But I wouldn't say anything specific. No.
So you would use, like, say, LinkedIn again. And also because you're doing lots of recordings and people share their story. Yeah. So while you're behind the camera,
but a lot of the time, like, again, with Andrew, like, his story, and the reason I wanted to connect with him on LinkedIn was because I was sat behind that camera listening to every second of it. And then I went home and listened to every second of it again while I was editing it. And then while I was editing it, I thought, okay, I want to start talking to this guy. Wow. And then I connected with him on LinkedIn and started messaging him.
See, that's the thing, bro. Like, the concept of Ubuntu, like, for me, that's my whole kind of, like, the Connevin for you, the Ubuntu, is that same concept of you don't know, like, for you being behind a camera, listening to people, but it impacts you, and boom, you reached out to him, and he's just a nice guy. He's a guy for the community. He's a guy for, inspiring people and helping people. And so like, for me, in terms of mentor, I've got like, I've got different mentors. Like me and Donna, I would say we mentor each other. Yeah. We journey together. And also my friends in South Africa, for 20 years, 25 years, is that peer mentoring. And I'm sure that you got your friends as well. Like,
yeah.
Because mentoring is that, how do you impact each other? And with your friends in terms of peer mentoring. Yeah. That's also mentoring.
Yeah. Literally, none of my friends are in business or anything remotely close to what I do. Yeah. But it is literally just those car rides you have with them, and you talk about things, and they sort of, as much as they might not understand what I'm on about, if I'm sort of telling them how something is, and they sort of just listening to it in itself is helpful. But then I sort of mentor them as well, because they give me an idea, and I said, well, why don't you make a business out of it? And they go, yeah, but what do you mean? Yeah. Because they think just because they're 18, they're 17, they can't make something into a business, because they're not, like, they're fresh out of school. That's not a thing that they can do in their heads. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, I was doing it fresh out of GCSEs. I was like 15, 16 years old. Yeah. And from then I started to tell my friends, if you actually want to do these things, if you want to start a podcast, let me know and I'll help you. Yeah. And then they come up with these ideas and they go, oh, you should do this. And we sort of back and forth, giving each other ideas, mentoring each other's and just sort of checking in with each other, even though we're doing completely different things. Yeah. Just being able to listen to each other. 100%. Maybe not necessarily understand, but listening to each other and taking it on board. I think that in itself is just mentoring.
100%. And that's just what I mean. Is like when we become intentional about what we have. Like, I haven't seen Donna for some time now, but I know that sometimes the investment that you've made there, so much time spent together before. Yeah. You can always check in. Yeah. That kind of mentoring element that that you for me and I'm for you. You do what you do, and if you need help, if you need encouragement, there is that. And when we become intentional, because it sounds like that mentoring there, your friendship circle, that's an intentional mentorship kind of model. And I think when you become aware of this is what it is, you begin to appreciate that. Do you know what I mean? And so, so in terms of like, say, what is that I wanted to ask you about how do you, I think you already said it, but I'm going to still ask the question. How do you handle stress and pressure during challenging times? It's a challenging time. How do you, I think I know where you're going to go with it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the time I rant about it to my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people do that anyway. About any stressful situation, they'll jump on Snapchat, WhatsApp, and they'll message their friend and they'll rant about it, and then that relieves a bit of stress. But like I said before, it is just going out and just doing anything that will distract your mind away from it. Even if you've got to come back to it, if you come back to it with a clear mind, you're not going to see it in the same way as you saw it before. You know, if your brain is full of all these stressful thoughts, and then another stressful thing comes along, and it just makes you sort of explode with stress, and just taking time to come away from that thing and distracting yourself by talking to your friends and allowing your friends to mentor you, and you can then come back to that thing, you know, maybe a little bit still stressed, but just a little bit more stress-free than you were before, and then you can sort of view that in a better way, and you can manage that in a better way.
Wow. Do you know how, if you should look at that young man that the first time you took that camera, your brother's camera, into, did you know that you were gonna be where you are today? Or
absolutely not. No, I think I would never have imagined it. Yeah, because I was 15, I had quite bad social anxiety. I hated talking to people I didn't know. Wow. So even being able to sort of say yes to Donna in the moment was quite a big thing for me.
Wow.
And it was never, and I think just after GCSEs had finished, that was one of my worst times, I think, in terms of mental health and anxiety. And I think if you had sort of messaged me and said, oh, do you want to come and film this? I would have said no. But because it was in person, and you can sort of feel like a situation out when it's in person, and because you can't really know what their intentions are, their motives are over a text message. But because it was in person, and I saw Donna, you could tell how passionate she was about that. It made it so much easier to say yes. And then from that first step, it was because part of the documentary was asking people questions, interviewing people. So I had to overcome that social anxiety. And I think immediately after then, I sort of realized, okay, I'm able to talk to people when I'm put in the situation. I've just never put myself in the situation to find out whether I was able to talk to people.
Bro, that is fascinating, because I don't know if you can see, but, just thoughts going through my mind as you just talking about that, What would your advice be for somebody out there maybe that's got that, they want to do something? Because when you were 15 years old, you took that camera and there was this sense of passion for it. You didn't know. So the social anxiety blockage is there now.
Yeah.
Donna comes and you went past it. How did you go past that? If there's maybe somebody that says, I've got a dream, but man, it's tough. There's some blockages, roadblocks here. How do they overcome that?
I think it's different for different people. I did in a different way. I was just put in a situation where I my friend had said yes. I was like, oh, well, I can't really say no. And I was sort of put in a situation where I had to say yes. And I was stressing a little bit, but then I did it anyway, and I sort of overcame it. So I think for me, I'm sort of lucky I got forced into that situation by my friend because he decided to say yes. But I think, it's difficult for everyone. A lot of people say, just do it. But it's not as easy as just do it. You can't just go and do it because there's a mental block there. That just do it doesn't exist in your head. So you have to put yourself in a situation where the just do it doesn't happen. It is literally, you're going to do it because you got no other option.
Wow.
So I think find yourself friends, find yourself people that are already in that situation where they're able to do things that maybe you struggle a little bit more with. And I think through just hanging out with them, I think, you slowly get pushed into what they're sort of doing, how they're able to, if it's social anxiety, communicate with other people. If they're happily going up to people and asking them, oh, sorry, do you know where the toilets are? I never did that in my life.
Yeah.
Only recently did I ask somebody, if I needed the toilet and I was in a restaurant, if I couldn't see the signs on the walls, I wasn't asking. I'll hold it in until I get home.
Wow.
But being around people that are able to go up to random people or, you know, order their food by themselves in Nando's, which I couldn't do.
But that's even mentoring there, isn't it? Finding that friends to mentor you through that, because it's still this thing of, like you're saying, when you see somebody else do it, it's like Nelson Mandela was saying again, you know, it's like yesterday I did that talk with Bristol. And Nelson Mandela, he says that, you know, when you let your light shine, you're unconsciously giving other people permission to do the same. So it's like when you do it, you're giving your brother, your friend, you're giving them permission to do the same. And so when you were saying about like where you are now, from 15 to 18 years old, you'll be like, nah. Because of this, just do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. It's hard to do it. And for you to be in this place where you are now, and I think then you're thinking of the future now, like you say, maybe I'm overthinking stuff. It's like, no, I think you've discovered something now in terms of like, okay, that mental block is broken. Yeah. And now there is, okay, this is what I'm looking forward to getting to where I need to get to. But now you can find yourself those mentors or those friends that can get you to where you need to be. Yeah. And because you put yourself out there, like you're saying with Andrew's story, because you put yourself out there, and even the fact that, you know, the first time when I asked you to come on and I'm listening to it, I'm thinking like, my days, did I ask this guy? Like, you know, where you were like socially, you would be like, oh, but now you came on the radio the first time. Yeah. You did a podcast with me. You're doing a podcast again with me today. And the way you do things, it doesn't look like, it doesn't seem like you had those mental blocks or those social anxieties. Yeah. Because everything we do is on the other side, I would say people, is on the other side of that mental blockage. Yeah. Like, I mean, you're going to France. Yeah. You're going like with BBC. It's like that 15-year-old boy and that friend of yours who went that blockage is kind of like that wall is broken down. Yeah. And to actually sit on a plane and go to France and do something that you love doing. Come on, man. Yeah. It's not about just, like I said, not just do it. I can speak publicly in front of a lot of people because a friend of mine threw me in the deep end into a situation where I couldn't say no. Yeah. Because it was too late to say no. So I had to say yes. Yeah. And today I'm doing what I'm doing. And so, before we, is there any other thoughts before we close?
No, I'll say what I normally say. Get LinkedIn.
Get LinkedIn and connect with people on there. Because today it was about just business and it's about mentorship and it's just thoughts, really. Yeah. I want people to hear our thoughts and all of that, you know what I mean? And it's like, your story just seems to keep getting amazing and amazing and amazing because it is about the mindset. It is about that growth mindset that says, listen, I'm not there yet, but I'm moving towards where I need to go. So it is about setting goals for yourself. If you don't set goals for yourself, then anything goes. You'll be saying yes to the wrong choice, to the wrong opportunities, and you'll say no to opportunities that you should have taken. Yeah. But if you have that goal, you set your goals and you change the whole dynamics. So, bro, I have to say I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely proud of you. Man, your blessed days and your best days, they are ahead of you. So, man, thank you so much for coming again this week.
Thank you.
And, he's normally on the other side of the camera, but, you know, I love these things. It's about journeying together. It's about, it's nothing like structured in such a way that it's like, it's just sharing our thoughts. And so if that encouraged you, get back to us.